Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. Yes, I have 7 commentators on here, myself included, and we have ourselves a really loaded show. But before I go any deeper than that, just want to let everybody know that Inside the Pigskin is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Inside the Pigskin can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter, X, at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes. And I have a new book coming out, and we're targeting the first week of November, called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. All right, well, let me talk about my leaders from right to left. Mr. U, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back on, Scott. Great to see you, man.
Great to see you, too. All right, Bo.
Good to see you guys.
And Coach Bono.
Hey, Scott. Good to see everybody. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure to have you. And, of course, Travis Sherlock Holmes.
Woo. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm down here freezing in Florida, man.
Yeah, I really feel bad for you. Go to the Midwest and we'll talk about freezing weather. Okay.
What a hard life.
Travis, no sympathy there. I don't do that, but no sympathy if you live where George Eichhorn and I have lived.
Oh yeah, hi everybody. It's cool here.
And last but not least, the guy that knows a thing or two about cold weather is Mel Farr Jr. Let me give everybody an overview of what we're going to talk about tonight. Talk about the 1972 Miami Dolphins. A new segment, thanks to Mr. U, that we're going to be incorporating every week. What team can we fix today? Everybody's game of the week. And obviously, Mel, I'm sure, has a topic that he'll put out there as well. With that said, okay, rejoicing in Miami. The 1972 Miami Dolphins don't have to worry at all about their undefeated season being in jeopardy for a while. And they can thank the Cleveland Browns defeating the San Francisco 49ers. And, of course, the New York Jets took care of the Eagles. And, you know, the Browns did so by what debosamuel, Christian McCaffrey getting knocked out. Zachwilson ends up leading the Jets to a win. And there was no Deshawn in the Cleveland game. So with that said, Mr. U, what do you think? The Dolphins are safe for another year? Or what about the two teams I just forementioned?
I know they're happy about that. Go ahead and pop your champagne. Ain't going to last forever. But maybe it will. But, yeah, those are two upsets. Me and Bo were talking about them this week. Neither one of us expected this to happen. None of our pickers had that in there. So the Niners got surprised from what I had missed part of the game. And Bo was telling me that they already held McCaffrey like 49 yards before he went out on injury. So they were already doing the number one defense job before that even happened. So, and with the Jets and the Eagles, I was just like, I couldn't catch that game either, but I only got caught it in pieces. Shocking. Because it's shocking to a degree because I think we've been talking about that also on the show, that the Eagles kind of been skating by, kind of having winning by the skin of their teeth kind of games. And it's like, you can't keep doing that. Not with your pedigree and not with what the expectations are. It's going to come down hard on you. And the Jets came out and surprised. I think both teams that pulled off the upsets this week did it with defense, and I love that. Kind of football that I love. Hard defense, winning in the trenches. Good stuff, baby. I love it.
Okay, Bo.
Yeah, I mean the Dolphins are going to be safe, and honestly, as the length of the season keeps getting longer, they get safer every year.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good point. Actually, never thought about that. That was really good. You want to top that, or you want to quit while you're ahead with that point?
No, I think we're going to talk about the other games, so we'll get to those.
No, that was really good. I really liked that what you just said. You just fell into it in quantity, but it's quality, and that statement you had was loaded. All right, Coach.
I agree with everything Mr. U said. I only got to see the very last drive in the Cleveland San Fran game. I saw like the last 4 minutes of the game. A lot of good back and forth there. I did get to see a lot of the Jets over Philly, and again, to Mr. U's point, two very, very good defensive football teams. Really made it tough on on two good offenses. And, you know, again, I didn't got Jets taken off. Yeah, I love the Jets. But I was impressed with what the Jets didn't do, which was they didn't hurt themselves, with a lot of mistakes. And, they've done a great job. Zach's, starting to show some of the potential that people saw out of him coming out of BYU in the draft. And, they're doing a good job of like protecting him from himself. I have to believe that Aaron being back in the building and kind of being in his year, I think that's got to help. But that's a team that's really growing. They're growing from week to week. We're seeing them overcome. They took that big heavy punch in week one, still figured out a way to win that game, right? And got staggered, but now they're starting to fight their way back into it. I still think that they're a good team to watch down the road.
Okay, Travis.
Yeah, these two games were two fun games. I mean, for different reasons, because obviously everyone loves offense these days. I'm a defense guy myself, so for me, I don't care. I would love boring football. You give me less than 20 points, but some exciting, defensive coordinators scheming, out scheming these new fast-paced college offenses. I'm in for it. You can grab my popcorn and grab my wife, and we good to go for the rest of the day. Let's do this. But no, this was interesting because you got the Browns who had 2 turnovers in the game and still won that game against a really solid 49ers team. Yes, they lost a few players. However, that Browns front four dominated the 49ers front five, and like you don't see that very often. The Trent Williams got thrown, and I mean thrown. If you watch the highlights for what Myles Garrett did to him on a few different plays, and that's just not something you see. Like those boys dominated up front, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like even losing the turnover battle, the Browns beat the 49ers, and they made Brock Purdy sweat. And it was obvious that he was sweating to try to just find open guys on the simplest routes. And then you get to the Eagles game, which is a whole different conversation because they lost that turnover battle. The Jets barely won, but they had 4 turnovers. Like for the Jets just to barely win the game, they had to have 4 turnovers, like three picks in the game. And I'm like, okay, that's the way the Jets would have to win. Like if you have to project how this is going to happen, it's going to have to be like one of those days from hell. Like it's going to just have to be one of those, hey man, we can't duplicate this, kind of days. And now we're entering week 7 now, and the Jets have now beat what was it? Beat Bills in week 1, and they
almost beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, almost beat the Chiefs, and they now just beat the Eagles in a game that kind of no one predicted, but that defense is something serious. Oh, and FYI, the Browns out of nowhere have literally the best defense in NFL per DVOA. How did that happen?
Well, George Eichhorn might be able to answer that question.
Schwartz.
I don't pretend to be the expert, I'll tell you, but no, I mean, Miami's record is intact. Obviously, there weren't going to be any unbeaten teams. We're seeing a lot of parity. Parity always shakes through in the NFL, even amongst the leaders, and little Detroit coming up there and having only 1 loss. So now they have the company of San Francisco and Philadelphia. But we'll talk more about that later, about the Lions. That'll be something we can feast on a little bit later. But no, those are both good games. I would have never expected both Cleveland and the Jets to both win, especially the same weekend, knowing full well, like you guys said, that they were going against unbeaten teams. Oh my gosh. So, but you're right. Defense, I tell you, if you got a good defense, a sound defense, you have a game plan. Offense, we know it's important, but boy, oh boy, if you got a good defensive front and especially the secondary, I mean, you can win. Any team can win in this league, but you got to play a good game and you got to force turnovers, and it's very important. So I'm happy though, and it's not just because Detroit is now joining them at 1 loss only, but I'm happy because I think those teams, like you guys have been alluding to, they're making progress. Like you said, Coach, the Jets, the Browns, they're building something here, and it sure showed in those 2 wins.
Okay, Mel.
Yeah, I mean, it was a surprise when I turned on the San Francisco and the Cleveland game. To be honest with you, especially with it being such a low-scoring affair, Brock Purdy didn't play all that well. 2 of their top players, obviously, were hurt, and obviously that had a huge impact on the game. But it just shows with those 2 games that we're talking about, the Jets and the Eagles and Cleveland playing San Francisco, if you have a good defense, you have a chance. You don't turn the football over and you get turnovers and you give your offense a short field, you have an opportunity to win in this league. I mean, there's a number of ways to win in this league. There's a lot of different ways to win in the league. You can do it like the greatest show on turf. You can put up a whole lot of points, or you can do it like the Baltimore Ravens did, and you can play very sound defense and keep the scores low and just bludgeon people to death. There's a lot of different ways to win in this league. And, I just found, everybody was just looking at San Francisco and saying that offense was so potent, didn't look like it could be stopped, and it really didn't. After, what they did to Dallas, you thought that, they were really, on their way to a Super Bowl. But I think Cleveland gave everybody a recipe of how you're able to deal with all those different weapons that they have. But at the same time, those guys did get hurt as well. So that played a huge role in that game. Health is imperative in this league. If you can stay healthy, you have an opportunity to do a lot of great things in this league. If you get hurt, it's going to be it's tough because the backups, as we know, the backup to Christian McCaffrey is not Christian McCaffrey, obviously, right. And debosamuel, there's a drop off when you go down, and you can see in Brock Purdy's play, once those guys went down, his play was not very good. So it also helps him and gives him a lot of confidence when he has those guys out there.
All right, we have a coach here on our set. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and point out 2 coaches. Guess what? It's time for Nathaniel Hackett to get some respect, period. Number 2, who's the defensive coordinator for the Browns? Jim Schwartz. Guess what? One of the best in the business. So when you talk about the fact that Jim Schwartz led the Philadelphia Eagles to a Super Bowl championship and Nathaniel Hackett keeps getting beat up like a hot potato, give me a break. These guys deserve some credit. They really do. And as far as I'm concerned, Sean Payton, lots of people eat crow when they're wrong, but there's one that you need to really eat your words. And Nathaniel Hackett isn't as bad as you advertise. All right. Our newest segment, thanks to Mr. U, is what team can we fix today, Mr. U? Go ahead.
Oh, my God. How many teams can we fix at one time? All right. Well, we agreed on the Chicago Bears. I know I got one of our guys here that want to put a hand grenade to him, but not quite sure that's the right approach to trying to fix this team. But so let's try to talk through a little bit more than just obliterating everybody.
Make sure she sees me before she leaves.
But so with the Chicago Bears, I think one of the biggest things I've noticed with them, not just the quarterback stuff. I mean, I wasn't really a part of the,
that headset stays here.
Kill Justin Fields and ship him out. I wasn't really on board with that. I see the talent that he has there, so I think he's good for the future as long as you got the pieces around him to help him, progress and grow. My issue is with the running back side. That, and of course, also the consistency at tight end.
You're right there.
Justin Fields being a fairly new quarterback, what we've seen historically is that new quarterbacks, even like a Brock Purdy, for example, when he had 10 games in before last week.
Right. Don't do that. You're in tight end. When you work.
Needs to lead on this tight end. And Justin Fields doesn't seem to have that luxury. He has 2 guys that I thought.
Go do it.
Cole Kmet, then he came over from I think he was drafted, I believe he was. And Robert Tonyan came over from the Packers. I thought that would help him out.
Don't wait till the last minute. You need to go ahead and get that done.
2 or 3 targets a game. So in their game plan, they're not even using the tight end. But what he's doing is trying to basically launch it down the field to his wide receiver.
I got it.
I know what you're talking about.
I'm getting into turtle.
I'm with you. Yeah. I would recommend that they use the tight end more because I think based on the way that they play, it's going to help move the ball down the field, take a little pressure off fields, but they're not doing that. On top of that, the running back situation is a problem. I mean, the last time we seen really good running backs in Chicago, I guess might disagree on who if you think he's a great running back or not. But Montgomery was fantastic in 2020. He had almost 1,200 yards. And then before that, you had Jordan Howard, who got injured a little bit. He was over 1,100, 1,200 yard rusher in 2016, 2017. Between that, they had Tariq Cohen, who was undersized. They were trying to use him as a little scat back. He wasn't really working. I mean, he had some big holes that open up for him here and there, but it wasn't. They haven't been addressing the running back part. So how are you going to have a quarterback that you invest a lot of money in? You think very highly of him. You're not giving him help at tight end or at running back. What do you think is going to happen? You're going to rely on his arms, try to throw the ball down the field, and rely on his legs, getting hit, being used as a runner. You're not giving him much of a chance to succeed. So I just think that Chicago could address those two issues alone. It'd be a great improvement to what we're seeing on the field right now. Hope that makes sense.
What's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, the way that they've been using him, I mean, obviously they want to see if he can, be that quarterback and throw the ball. And, you hope that he can. But for them to completely abandon the quarterback runs, one of the things that he does exceptionally well and aids the running game in general. Obviously it isn't great to get away from what he does well. Like, you still need to have some of that because that's part of his skill set. I mean, similar to when you look at Russell Wilson, they tried to get rid of his ability to scramble, and he really struggled being a pocket passer. So I think some of that is true with Fields as well. So I think that if they continue on this path with the amount of talent they have on the team, they could be looking for a head coach. Okay.
Let me just allude to one comment in the chat room. Then I'll turn over to you, Coach. Okay, let's go back to Hackett for a moment. I'll just comment on it. Hackett is a great OC, but it's demise was Russell. I cook it until it's burnt, Wilson. Okay, Jeremy, I get that, but the reality of the situation is that Sean Payton isn't very much better either. So we'll just leave it at that. So, all right, Coach, go ahead, pick it up.
I don't know that there's too much more that I can add to what Bo and Mr. Yu said.
Right.
My question would be is define fix, right? I don't think this team is fixable right now. I think that there's going to be, there's going to be change imminent, at the end of the year. I think they're too far away. So, it's an accountability league, right, wrong, or indifferent. When you don't get the results, there's going to be changes. I have one off topic, again, how do you define fix? I'd say the Giants, do a little bit better job of situational awareness. Let Tyrod Taylor play. Let him play. He gave him a spark. He made some unbelievable lights out throws down the field in that game. Right. At least 3 that I remember that were like dimes. Just let him play. He gave him a spark. Let Jones get healthy. Let him sit for a while and see what happens. They got nothing to lose.
Okay. No, good point. All right. Travis?
Hey, man, the most popular person on everyone's roster is always the backup quarterback. And we're right along with Tyrod. Until he everybody gets a few weeks of tape on him. And then it's like, oh, boo, get this dude off the field or whatever it is. So, yeah, that's a story as old as time. But, for the Bears, actually, I think it's a lot simpler. I think it's easier than what we've been talking about. Hey, man, just get rid of Ryan Poles. Let's start there. I mean, just from the top, the guy who traded away all names that if you watch a reasonable amount of football, their names. He traded away Khalil Mack, traded away Roquan Smith, traded away Robert Quinn, traded away DJ Moore. Same guy. In quote unquote building this team for more resources, you can't name the vast majority of the replacements of the guys he's filled those holes with, holes that he created, right? These are all names of guys who are, if not top of the league, top 5, top 7 in their various positions. That's rough. And then that's also the guy who, hired the head coach, also the guy who put the OC in charge. Technically the coach put Luke Getsy in charge. Nevertheless, you have an OC who's not putting an offensive type, an offensive style around the quarterback. You know, you have a quarterback who's going to work better in a spread offense situation, but you're not really putting them in that kind of a situation. That seems problematic. In addition to your flaws in building the team, seems pretty problematic. A point that was made earlier, this may not, to Coach's point from earlier, it doesn't seem like this is going to be a quick fix, and it's probably going to be flipped at the end of the season, one would hope. But nevertheless, if this is what you consider in team building, you are doing a dreadful job. So, yeah, that's how I'm fixing it. Step one, fire GM. Step two, let's work on that step one first, then proceed from there.
Hey, George.
Two is circle back to step one.
There you go.
I've been in situations before, as you guys know, in Detroit, and we've lived through those terrible days of general managers. And you're absolutely right, Travis. I mean, it's got to start with him. The situation has been so bad for so many years in Chicago. You got to start cleaning house. You got to start from the top, like you said. President of football operations. Teams have presidents. Some have general managers. Some have both. I mean, you got to get a guy in there. I mean, the Lions really, really were blessed with Brad Holmes. Okay, and of course, Coach Dan. So I mean, you got to find the right people first of all. I mean, and then you got to scout. You got to draft. You got to trade and sign free agents at a rate that helps you improve weekly, and you got to show progress. If you're not showing progress, I like Justin Fields. I mean, I know he's got potential, but again, you can't put it all on that kid, which they've seemingly have done the last year or two. You cannot do that, and that pressure on him. And then lastly, build the new stadium. And I know this will take some time, but the Bears building that new stadium, number one, you're going to attract more talent. You're going to attract better people. They're going to want to play there. You're going to have first-class facilities and everything else that goes with it. And you're going to have a bigger revenue on the ancillary things like restaurants and shops and whatever else they're going to build around it. And so, I mean, that's another thing I've seen in Detroit, especially when we all got new stadiums here. That does help, and especially in the NFL, because you want to increase how many avenues you have for your revenue. And like I said, you want to attract better athletes, better players, better coaches and staff. You can't do it any better than a new locker room, a new stadium, and obviously all the things that goes with that.
Okay, Mel.
George, I think in that new stadium, they went over in that new stadium, didn't they? nothing cures winning like winning. That's what people are attracted to winners. And with the Bears, I think they've been taking the easy way out with Justin Fields. I've liked Justin Fields. I watched him since he was playing in high school out here in Georgia. I think Kirby was taking the easy way out with him. When his freshman year, they bring him in, and it was all. As soon as he came in, everybody knew it was a run. They just wanted to run him because he, sometimes with the black quarterback, the problem that we have is because they are uniquely gifted that you just want to focus on one skill set and not the entire set of skills that he has. And with Justin, he can run the football, so let's just have him run the football, and then we'll try to do things off of that. No, the guy was throwing the football in college. The guy can throw the football around the yard. Lamar Jackson, he threw the football in college. He could throw the football. Yeah, he has that extra gift, the extra dynamic to him, the extra thing that makes it more difficult for him to guard because he does have that escapability factor, and he can, make something happen with his legs, or he can extend the play and make something happen with his legs. But I think they've been taking the easy way out with Justin Fields. And that's what's kind of disappointing to me, rather. And it's not the fact that he's on a team with a defensive coach. I don't think that necessarily matters. They just have to have a plan in place of how we're going to deal with this particular unique skill set that we have. And the other thing is I think things will change there because they got Kevin Warren there now, who was the president of the Big Ten. I think you're going to see things start to change there. I think there's going to be a change probably in the coaching staff. There's probably going to be a change in the GM. And obviously we know they're going to have that nice stadium, but nothing fills up stadiums like winning.
All right. The only thing I'll say about Bears situation is this. Number one, in Ohio State, Justin Fields was a pocket passer, and he had a lot of talent around him. Now, with the Bears, he has no talent around. Now you're asking the kid not only to be a pocket passer, but he's running for his life and his mobility. And that goes back to what Mel says, okay? If you expect Justin Fields to play the role of Superman, you got something coming. It's not going to happen there. But the lack of talent that they have, let alone the fact that Soldier Field, I've been there a few times. I know Coach can know that too. That's not an easy place to play, especially with the winds off of Lake Michigan. So, you know, to me, I would love to see Justin Fields be able to survive 5 years at the rate he's going. Who knows if he'll make it past the third or fourth without any kind of problem. So the last Lions general manager that I thought was any good up until they brought in Brad Holmes was Martin Mayhew. I thought he did a pretty solid job too. So let's not forget about that. Brad Holmes, to me, all he does is he's a mastermind and an Einstein, and he's going to reach a point nobody wants to trade with him. And he'll remind me of Red Auerbach. You don't want to trade with this guy, otherwise you're in trouble. But as far as Justin Fields, I only have 2 words for you, Justin. Good luck. Stay healthy. Well, there's 4. All right.
Well, Scott, I think George had a good point about the GM, man. I didn't realize that they spent over $135 million on 7 players. Can anybody here name who they were? Good luck with that.
Yeah.
I watch football. I watch a lot of football. I can't name them guys. I don't know who they are. 7 players, $135 million. Yeah, George's idea about the GM. Yes, that's a good idea. Give it to him first. Burn him in effigy first, and get everybody else out afterwards. $135.5 million on 7 players.
All right, so now we're going to go on to everybody is in there for themselves with this next topic, which is a staple on our show. Everybody's favorite game of the week. Doesn't have to be a 9-minute answer. It could be whatever you want it, you know. Just to let everybody know that after Inside the Picture, we have 108 Stitches Baseball Talk to follow. We have a great show lined up as well. But all right, Mr. U, what was your game of the week?
Thank you for picking me first, Scott.
All the time. I like to make it easier on me, Mr. U. Everybody right to left.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going with the Niners and the Browns. The reason why I'm not picking the Giants and the Bills because I don't want to scream. I'm still kind of hoarse. I don't want to go apathetic on your show, so I'm going with the Niners and the Browns for now. It was a shock for me. They seem to be a juggernaut in our opinion. We thought they were going to just be running over everybody, maybe even going as far as being nearly undefeated for most of the season or half at least. Didn't see this one coming. I knew the Browns had number 1 defense, but still didn't think that they would be able to beat Purdy and Kittle and McCaffrey and Debo and these guys and Ayuk. That's exactly what happened. Purdy got sacked 3 times. I think he threw for about 44% of his passes. So he was on the run, seeing ghost for the entire game, which is that's kind of the formula, right? Everybody talking about this quarterback is the elite, whatever. Let's say you fix elite. Constant pressure. Elite goes out of the window after a while because any quarterback has to deal with that kind of situation. So the funny part with this Trent Williams part, I'm gonna harp on this for a minute because it's getting on my nerves. So if you guys want to talk me off the ledge, by all means, please do. But you guys watching Trent Williams and what he's doing every single week, this guy is like out here trying to get the ndamukongsuh award or something. What is he doing? Every week he's uppercutting somebody under their helmet, punching them in the jaw, knocking their helmets off. I'm like, is anybody seeing this? It's like this is not like football. I'm protecting my quarterback. That's not what this is like. He's just doing his own WWE thing out here, and like nobody seems to be noticing this. I'm like,
he's always been that guy.
I feel that same way too, Trav, but it's like nobody's talking about that. It's like he just under the radar, just ndamukongsuh light, just doing his little thing, stepping on people and punching. I'm like, what's going on?
The linemen don't get the calls. If they called it in the game, I think he'd probably be, ejected or suspended or whatever else, or something like that. But because they never call it in the game, it always just becomes a fine after the fact. But I thought this for a long time. Yeah,
I'm glad I'm not alone because I felt kind of insane by myself. So thanks for joining me in the asylum. But as far as something about this reminds me of last year's Niners. They had some of the same players. It's like when certain players get hurt, their offense just goes downhill. They're super reliant on like 1 or 2 players. in their offense. I don't know if you guys see the same thing. It's like, so when those one or two guys are out, it's hard for them to function for some reason. So I'm not surprised by that part. When they went out, I said, they're in trouble now. So I know the Browns were going to win by this margin or anything, but it was just a really good game to watch. Really fun. I saw the majority of it too. So it was really fun to watch that one, man. That's my game of the week.
Okay.
Is that 9 minutes?
What's your game? What's your game of the week, Bo?
For me, it was the Lions and the Bucks. Right, that was supposed to be a heavy hitter. It 4-1 versus 3-1. You have a Bucks team that's overachieving, mostly because it's got that Baker action. But so I was waiting for them to fail, and here it was. So but the biggest story out of this is that Detroit defense and what it's evolved from over last year through the beginning of the season. You got Hudson that is, has the most quarterback pressures in the league. This defense really shaping into something nice, and of course they still have an offense that can score on anybody. So that's
leave that alone.
Okay.
So yeah, the Lions are probably
He's strong. Go ahead.
Because their one loss wasn't an embarrassing loss.
Okay. All right, Coach. What's your game of the week?
Man, I kind of changed my mind on this one midway through. I wasn't going to go with the Jets because of the obvious reasons, in the upset. But I still think the Giants and Bills. I mean, that was just a fun game to watch, man.
Toilet, please.
Just the drama of it. Backup quarterback. I mean, they actually lose the game at the end of the first half. All there and not, if they get the field goal in that situation, it's a completely different ball game coming down the stretch at the end of the fourth quarter. So, just as you had the added drama of Debo going back to really his hometown, being from Buffalo. They outlined the bromance between him and Josh Allen. The respect that they have for one another. It just was. It was.
Be careful.
There was a lot of good optics there for the league, and a lot of excitement and drama and controversy in that game. So that's why it's my pick this week.
Okay, Travis.
Everything in me didn't want to pick this game, but I had to pick the game because it was the funniest game to me. And I went with the Saints and the Texans. Not because it was the most exciting game, because honestly, I mean, I'm a Jags fan. You know this already to my core. So I'm always going to say the Jags game is the best game. But in looking at the Saints game, because the Jaguars play the Saints on Thursday, I wanted to check out what was going on, and it was just a hilarious last 4 plays of the game, and that made everything for me. Like the OC for the New Orleans Saints, Pete Carmichael, was just committing highway robbery, getting a paycheck, and I just thought it was hilarious. Them boys out there like a 9-year-old playing Madden, straight 4 birds with we have 25 seconds left on the 25-yard line, going into the end zone with the timeout in your pocket. And that is literally what they ran 4 plays in a row. 4 verts into the end zone, 4 shots into the end zone, and the Saints lost against the Texans, and that just had me rolling. Like it was 3-by-1 sets, 4 verts on one of the plays. I think they had a deep out route, and the quarterback got pressure. Like I'm just like, yo, what is this dude doing? Like he's just spamming the same play over and over and unsuccessfully, and I just thought it was hilarious. So that was my game of the week, simply because, hey man, all these OCs, they might have the training, they might have the mind for it, but man, for some reason they sometimes may not be better than this little 12-year-old in I don't know, in South Korea playing Madden at 2 a.m. because they just they're spamming the same unsuccessful plays, and I think it's great.
Hey, sometimes you just mash X, right? It's not no play every time.
That's all it is, man. But I enjoyed it, and I thought I was crazy. And then I saw people start to talk about it online, and I'm like, okay, I'm not all right. And then here's the play. Here's the all 22. No, that's exactly what they're doing. Wow, it was amazing.
Okay, George.
Well, again, showing my hometown prejudice, I'm going to go with Detroit and Tampa Bay. Fox moved the game, as we all know, to be one of the doubleheader games at 4:25 p.m. Eastern. And that was for good reason, because both teams have been playing well, especially Detroit. And another outstanding game by Jared Goff. I mean, you talk about injuries, and one of you was mentioning about injuries earlier in one of the games that you watched. Oh, McCaffrey. Yeah. Okay. Well, the Lions lost Montgomery. Okay. And Gibbs, and they sure found a way to win. They are showing the depth of this team like I've never seen since way back when they won that playoff game that year against the Dallas Cowboys. Their only playoff win, by the way, since 1957. So Detroit is on high heels right now. They're doing a great job. They're following. They have the spirit and emotion of their head coach, and they're just playing with some great defense, like you guys said. They're doing well. And how about those fans? Again, over 10,000 Lion fans at Tampa Stadium. Oh, come on. I mean, this is getting unbelievable. We wonder how many are going to go to Baltimore this coming Sunday. I mean, it's a big talk in Detroit right now. Fans. And those out-of-town cities got to love it. Trust me. More revenue, tickets sold, airline tickets sold, restaurants, programs, ticket price, everything, when you bring in that many fans. And I know some people live down there, of course, and from Michigan. But no, it's just a complete game again. The Lions played, and hats off to Goff. They gave him one of the game balls, and they gave the punter, by the way. Fox got the other game ball. And so that game was certainly tilted in Detroit's favor right from the get-go, 20-6 final. And the Lions are rolling 5-1. That was my game.
Hey, Mel, what's yours?
Mine would probably be the Saints and the Texans, just because the Texans are quietly putting together a pretty decent little season. I mean, they're playing a lot better than I thought they would play, given the fact that that organization that has been so dysfunctional the last number of years. And you just change, you make a change in the head guy there. You bring a guy in there who the players respect. You get the best quarterback that I thought was in the draft, C.J. Stroud, and that team is playing well, surprisingly. So, I mean, that guy has to have a huge influence on that team. That coach has to have a big influence on that team in order to change that. Basically, you've turned that franchise upside down, that organization upside down, because it was a laughing stock of the league for a number of years. And for them to go out there and compete the way that they're competing and to be 500 right now, and with a rookie quarterback, that says a lot to me about the type of man that's leading that team.
Well, my game of the week happens to be in that city, but not that game. Homecoming at Raymond James Stadium. I cover the Florida Atlantic University Owls on a regular basis, but my alma mater, is the University of South Florida. And oh my God, as if things weren't bad enough for my Bulls to begin with. They had a 56 spot against UAB. FAU walks in there and decides, let's do the same thing, 56-14, 587 yards in total offense for the Owls. Now, here's the thing. I've worked with a lot of coaches, and Coach Bond, I want to ask you a quick question. You ever met Coach Tomhermen before?
I have not.
You need to. All I can tell you, you need to. Every time I get in front of this guy, it's always a blast. I'm wearing the Motor City Madmouth hat here, He wants one. He's going to get one. So when I looked at that box score, I actually had some fun with Herman because I know I can get away with it, all right? And I asked him, Coach, why didn't you go ahead and beat the daylights out of Monmouth instead of laying a whipping on my alma mater? And he's laughing his tail off. He didn't know what to say, but if you go, and we'll have that video uploaded by the end of the week, he's great. Now, to make things even more interesting, Florida Atlantic scores touchdowns by way of receiving, running, and not only that, we talk about special teams. My goodness, I wonder how Coach Bono's salivating at special teams with a run back. So then I talked to Coach Herman, about that. You ever heard of the Gordie Howe hat trick? Yeah, I actually have. He's the only coach probably in football that's ever heard of the Gordie Howe hat trick. You had a receiving touchdown, you had a running touchdown, and a special teams, and they didn't get a defensive touchdown, but oh my goodness. Now, we'll say this, okay? It was neat going to this homecoming game and seeing all the green and gold at Raymond James Stadium. Let's face reality. Raymond James Stadium is a beautiful stadium. It really, really is. And, and so it's kind of neat. I'm walking into the stadium. These are my people, USF, right? I mean, green and gold. This is me, baby. This is his ring. Okay, this is what I stand for. In 1987, or 86 is when I graduated. But, George, you mentioned an interesting point about the Lions fans there, okay? When I was going to school there from 84 to 86, the Lions crowds at the old Tampa Stadium were comparable to what you saw Sunday. The only difference is that not a lot of people are old enough to know about it, and I lived it.
Yeah.
So all I can tell you, that weekend was not a good weekend for the Tampa Bay area in terms of their football teams. USF gets squashed, killed, whatever you want to call it, and the Lions earn a hard-fought win and let the rest of the country know it's time to take us seriously, and we won't get into the details. So, yeah, Jeremy, I know that you're a Lions guy. I know you have a podcast with them. But the reality of the situation is, to me, let's give a little bit of shout-out to the kids. A few people don't realize, as I mentioned before, I've covered FAU since 2007. I was around when Howard Schnellenberger was actually building this program from the ground up. And the reality of the whole situation is I kept saying all week long, there's no way I can lose. Well, I could. I'm covering one team, and then I obviously graduated from the other. And, that's how I played it up all week. It was good to see a couple of friends. Let's go to one comment in the chat room. Who would have thought we'd see the day when the Lions were the greatest show on town? And Anthony, that's a good question. And I hope you answer me that question in a few weeks, because I hope to give you the same answer in a few weeks. But great point, Anthony. Appreciate you very much. So, all right. Well, now that we've talked about our game of the week, and just so everybody know, in the future, it can be an NFL game, or if for some reason you want to put a college game out there, I'm not against it. All right, Mel, you got a topic for us?
Yeah, this weekend we had a few big games out west with Oregon playing Washington and with Southern Cal playing Notre Dame. And Notre Dame ended up handily beating Southern Cal this weekend, and probably, in my opinion, probably dashing their playoff hopes, because Southern Cal still has a few more tough games to play, not to mention the biggest game on their schedule, UCLA. But, having watched, looking at what Oregon did and Washington, I mean, that game was kind of a shootout. I was kind of in and out of sleep watching that game, and then back and forth between UCLA and they were playing, I can't remember, but they were playing a team that they should have beat, Washington State. What? I can't remember who they were playing. Oregon State. They were playing Oregon State. Yep. And I was back and forth between that and more watching USC because it didn't look like UCLA was doing anything. But anyway, out of the teams that are in contention in the Pac-12, do you see one team that has a clear path to, or any path to the playoffs? We'll start with you, Mr. U.
Clear path.
Or any path. Or are they going to cannibalize one another, kind of like the Big Ten used to do?
It feels like that's what's getting ready to happen. But just for the sake of discussion, I think out of the teams that we've seen recently, front runners being Oregon, Washington, USC, not UC, I'm not really including them in this one. I like Oregon the most in what I've been seeing. I think just on both sides of the ball, like what's happening.
Even though they just lost?
I'm sorry, say again?
Even though they just took that L this week? Okay. Yeah.
Even though. I think they're head and shoulders above most of the teams that they've been playing, but I can't pick USC. That's what you're trying to get me to go. I can't do it, man. I just kind of feel like offensively they're gonna win most shootouts. That's fine, but defensive, they suck. They play somebody really good, which they already have. Look what happened. They got ate up. So I'm gonna stick with Oregon right now, but I'm sure you guys are gonna have a better answer than that. So I'm ready for it. Bring it on,
Bo, who do you think may emerge from the Pac-12?
Yeah,
I know what you're gonna say.
It actually looks like it's going to be Washington, but to your point, they realistically are going to cannibalize each other. I mean, when you look at Washington's schedule moving forward, they have their next 5 games. They have 4 ranked teams, so I mean it's going to be a tough out. Plus, they have Arizona State for whichever reason. It doesn't matter if they're ranked or not. The Huskies, that's a stumbling block for them half the time. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, but they have the clearest path forward, where they control their own destiny. They just got to keep winning, and that's college football, right? You got to win them all. So it's not like there's a lot of divisions and stuff like that. I mean, college football is whoever wins out gets a shot. So as it sits right now, they have the clearest path, but next week's next week.
Coach, who do you like?
Washington, for all the reasons that Bo outlined. Outside of the Pac-10, I like Michigan. Obviously they've got Ohio State and Penn State being large, so that doesn't necessarily make it a clear path. But I think Michigan's playing pretty good ball, and we'll see what happens.
All right, Travis.
This is a hard one because this is a lot of teams, so I haven't watched a lot of, to be honest with you. And the weirdest part about that is, it seems like the easy and obvious answer is that they're going to cannibalize each other. But if you're looking at the remaining schedules of all the teams, honestly, I don't even love Oregon State, but just looking at the remaining schedule, it seems like that will be the team who has the easiest route. I mean, they have, the Arizona, Colorado, and Stanford in November 11th. And then they finish the season off against Washington and Oregon. So basically they have 2 games. If they can get through those final 2 games, they're probably going to be a top 4, top 5 team. That's just the way it's going to go down. And it's a weird thing because, again, I don't think they're a good team. I've seen 2 of their games early in the season, but I don't think they're a good team. But they might legitimately be one of those teams that we see every playoffs that is just a bad team that gets blown out because they made it. They just through attrition and not being too injured.
Yeah, good points. George?
Well, I was totally caught off guard. I'll tell you what, I anticipated those 2 rivals, USC and Notre Dame, going down to the wire. And Mel, what a blowout, like you said. I mean, they were fired up, the Irish, and USC sure has to be back on their heels right now. And you alluded to this, Mr. U. USC, points allowed so far this year, 120. The defense, very suspect. I'm going to go with Washington. I don't know if it's a clear path either, but for all the right reasons, they've won 6 games in a row right now. They are on a definite roll. And it is going to be a tough, that is a tough conference. And unfortunately, as you know, Mel, I mean, this is the last year we're going to see this conference together in one unit. So they're having a hell of a dogfight. And and you look at defense, Utah has one of the stingiest defenses, if not the stingiest in that whole conference right now. And they're not to be forgotten either. They're ranked 14th right now in the nation, and they're sitting there with a 5-1 record, 2-1 in the conference. So, gosh, I'm really enjoying this, Mel, because the conference, the Pac-12, they're playing some great ball, and I'm so glad to see so many teams ranked so high.
Yeah, and it's good. We're getting to see a lot of these teams in primetime coverage as opposed to watching the Pac-12 after dark. You get a chance to watch it in prime time and see what kind of, the brand of football that we play out west, right? All right, Scott, I'll turn it back over to you unless you have a comment regarding who might emerge from the Pac-12.
Well, I'm going to have a little fun with this one because I think it really is a topic that deserves to have fun. I'll piggyback off George for just a quick second. It's the final year that Pac-12 will be in its current format. So I'm going to just be sentimental and hope that Washington State or Oregon State have an opportunity to go deeper. I don't know what the records, don't even care, but I know that these are the two schools that want to keep the Pac-12 together. We'll see how all of this plays out. So I'll just say I'm rooting for Washington State and Oregon State. We'll see where it goes. But I love all the choices. Great topic. All right. With that said, let me go over some other information here before we call it a night. Great show by the crew. The format's working out real well. We're going to continue with it. So I want to let everybody know one more time, in case you're joining us, that Inside the Pigskin is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Inside the Pigskin can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room. That's the way to do it. Or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website's www.southfloridatribune.com and Twitter/X @Tribune South. Candy Ebling's behind the scene. My new book is a media book, Lessons from the Microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders, hoping to release that in the beginning of November. I know Travis has to get out of here right away as another commitment. So with that said, we'll let everybody know how they can get a hold of you. Go ahead, Travis.
Oh, you can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. You can find my writings on bigcatcountry.com, where I cover the Jacksonville Jaguars. You can find me here every week on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Inside the Pigskin. And you can also find the Duval Dive, a Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, on Fridays at 11 a.m. on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Appreciate you having me, sir.
Travis, we'll see you next week. Have a good rest of the night. All right. With that said,
Yes,
now there are 6. Okay. And with that said, Mr. U, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
Absolutely. We're on all the socials, but specifically on YouTube and Twitter at They Call Me Mr. U. Different spelling, MRYU on Twitter, MISTAYU on YouTube. Monday morning live at 9 a.m. EST. Bo and I are talking Giants, Seahawks, and all things NFL and college. And on Tuesdays evenings at 8 p.m. EST, of course, your show, Scott, Inside the Pigskin, which I'm happy to be a part of, man. And we have some audio podcasts on Tuesdays and Thursdays that are more educational, teachings, entrepreneurship, things of that nature. So you can find us all over your socials, man. Thanks again for having me on.
Very good, Mr. U. I knew from the beginning you were a great addition, and nothing's changed my mind. You get better with every show as we continue to work on making it flow and improving the nature of how we go about it. With that said, I'll go over to Bo. Go ahead.
All right. So, yeah, you can find me on my channel, Football Talk with Bo, Football-Talk, and then, of course, on Twitter, at Football Talk with Bo. And pretty much you can see me on camera every day. So stop by and say hi.
And follow him. He's a very big help for me on social media. Can't thank both Mr. U and Bo enough for helping us out on social media. Much, much appreciated. All right, Mel, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
Find me on all the social media at Mel Farr Jr., Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, whatever. Find me at Mel Farr Jr. and follow what we have going on for youth at melfarr.org.
Very good. All right, Coach. Yours is easy.
Yeah, you can find me right here every Tuesday or Wednesday night, sometimes both. I'm also on LinkedIn. This Friday, I'm going to be going to watch IMG play Lake Highland Prep down in Orlando. And then Saturday, we'll be in Homestead for the NASCAR race. So got a full weekend planned.
Oh, very good. Okay, in my neck of the woods. I don't know where I'll be this weekend. I don't really worry about it. But anyways, I should point out now that Coach Pano and Mel mentioned that they are going to be participating in No Limits with Jennifer Lee Cobb, who is an advocate for going out there and finding a cure for Parkinson's disease. These guys are going to be great. All right, George, last but not least, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
Yeah, they can get a hold of me at gicorn@yahoo.com or LinkedIn under my name. On Twitter, X or whatever it's called, at SandGSports99. I write for the Motor City Tribune, which is under the South Florida Tribune banner. There's a link at the end of my column to purchase my book for $19.99. We've got Detroit sports broadcasters on the air, including Scott and a bevy of broadcasters from Detroit and Michigan. We've had a great history here in Detroit of announcers, including the great Ernie Harwell. So that's how the best way to reach me. Oh, and you'll see me here, 108 Stitches, Inside the Pigskin, the Sports Exchange, and Pundits Pundit. Glad to be part of the network that Scott and Candy have done such a terrific job.
All right, thank you, George. I mentioned our information just so everybody know at the top of the hour we're going to be going to 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Have a good show lined up, so I hope you can stay here in the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. So on behalf of Travis Holmes, who left just a moment ago, Mr. U, Bo Crouch, Mel Farr Jr., and Coach Bono, and George Eichhorn, this is Scott Morgan with the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin, and we will see you next Tuesday night on this same show. Good night, everybody, and have a great football week. Bye now.